Will we need a ruler? Nope, but we will need a pencil. We're going to be making noodle knots without grid paper, so I am going to mark out the middle of the top and the bottom of my paper. And now I'm going to put the same number of evenly spaced dots before the mid mark and after the mid mark for an even number of dots. Now starting at the first dot, I'm going to make a column of dots. And this time it's going to be an odd number of dots. Now I'm going to fill out the page with these columns and rows of dots, lining them all up. Now I'm going to start a new row of dots by starting a half step to the left and a half step under the first row. Now our dots fall in between the first set of dots we created. It's going to be an odd number across this row, and we're going to fill in all these spaces. So we should be left with a dot before our original set of dots and after our original set of dots. And we can correct any dots that look like it doesn't line up the rows and columns. And now we can get to the really fun stuff. We're going to make horizontal and vertical lines through our dots. It doesn't matter which dots. It also does not matter if they are symmetrical. So you can put these lines anywhere. Just make sure that the dot is in the middle of your line. You can even move through two dots, going through one dot and then through the next dot. This won't make sense yet, but the more lines you have in this pattern, the more curves you're going to end up with your noodles. You can even create corners. Just trust the process along the way. While I did decide to keep the majority of this symmetrical, you really don't have to. I also decided to extend the lines on the edges. So I'm going to move it through one more set of dots at the top and one more set of dots along the bottom. We'll build out a couple of more corners. And now we're going to begin to connect the empty dots with diagonal dashes. We can only connect the dots that don't run into anything. And we can only connect them with diagonal lines, not straight lines. We've already done that. We also can't connect dots that already have lines moving through them. Only empty available dots. I'm also making sure that my dashes do not touch the dots. That's going to be important in a little while. So I will continue to make dashes in a diagonal line between the dots that are available. And I can already tell you now, there will be a few that I miss along the way, but that's okay. We're going to catch them in a little while. So for now, just enjoy this dot-to-dot connecting process. So here are some ways we can connect our dots. To connect dot to dot with a long line in between, well, that's pretty simple. We just connect dot to dot. And again, we don't let these lines touch our dots. To connect dot to dot when it looks like it has a long corridor, we're going to make a slightly curved line, like an S or a backwards S. When we have dot to dot with a line above and below, we're going to make parentheses shapes. Our curve always moves toward the solid line. When we have this V of dots with a solid line on one side, again, our curve moves toward the solid line. And when we have a corner, well, these are pretty easy too. You're basically going to connect these two dots with a corner. Pretty simple. You can also connect the outside of the corner when you connect dot to dot on the wide ends on the outside of the corner. And you can make this a pointy shape, or you can make it a rounded shape. If you end up with a box shape with a single dot available, you can make it like an inverted triangle, making sure that your lines don't touch the available dot, or you can make it rounded like a balloon, again making sure your lines don't touch the dot. So let's connect our dots. I usually begin in the corner, and we can see that we have this triangle with a solid line. So we're going to move a curved line from empty dot to dot toward the solid line. Now we can see that our next section is a dot above a dot with a solid line on either side. So we're going to make this a parentheses. Our next set of dots is again like our first. So we move our curved line toward the solid line. Again, none of these connecting lines touch anything. We have a long line here, but it's going to involve two short curved lines to connect dot to dot. We can also connect the outside of this long line just by making a longer curved line. We'll make parentheses in this section. And we'll make a corner piece in this corner. And again, this could have been pointy or it could have been rounded. Either is fine. We're going to continue to connect dot to dot. So just enjoy this real-time process. We've come to a long corridor or hallway, however you want to look at it. We can't connect that dot because it already has a line through it, so we connect the empty dot to dot with a curvy line. This is a lot like a Pac-Man board, and we're essentially just trying to get Pac-Man to eat the dots and make his way through the board. I hope you can start to see how these lines are going to flow and weave across each other. also fix any of the diagonal lines that I missed. And now we can work on connecting the outside border. These are pretty easy. We connect dot to dot, and you can either make it rounded or pointy on the corners. But we're pretty much just connecting dot to dot with curved lines. Usually the outside area is generally pretty easy. Our next step is going to be making over-unders. We start with a single dot and we move through it, and then we skip the next dot. Move along the line. We're going to cross through the next dot, move along the line, skip the next dot, move through the next dot, skip the next dot, and so on and so forth. Here's where you're really going to begin to see this line pattern emerging. We just want to make sure that we are skipping every other dot. This line is going to meander all over the page, and eventually it's going to come back around to where you started. Now we have to look for any extra sections that are being created. I didn't see any at the top, but I do see some toward the bottom. So I'm going to look for those empty spaces to cross through to begin. And again, skipping every other dot. It'll be a lot easier to see where to move over and under. We've created a space here, and now we have, I think, one more. Moving our over and unders. Until we come back around to where we started. And now we can build our noodles. I'm gonna go make a line on either side of our original line, smooth that out, making sure to stop wherever the original line stops, creating space for the other noodles to move around it. This part of the process gives us the ability to refine our shapes. I do try to keep my noodles consistent in width, but that doesn't always happen. I'm sure that there are people who are much better at that than I am. For the most part, I'm just trying to get the basic shape of the noodle. And while this process is very soothing, it does take quite some time, so I'm going to speed it up here. we can go ink it in. And when that's finished, we erase our pencil lines. And then we're left with a bunch of knots, whether you call them Celtic knots or noodle knots. Look what we've made! And we did it without grid paper.